These 8 useful English words will boost your everyday fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score. And you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. Everyone at Hollow Lane Stables agreed that Pickle was the most useless pony in the whole county. Too small, too slow, too plain. No child ever chose to ride a pony who would only plod. By the end of that summer, Pickle would be the most precious animal in the place, and a queue of children would be waiting just to sit on his back. Pickle was old, scruffy, and gray around the muzzle. The other horses at the stable were tall and spirited, with glossy coats and proud, arched necks, and the children all begged to ride them. But Pickle was none of those things. When a child climbed into his saddle and asked him to trot, he would only plod, slow and steady, around the edge of the field. It did not matter how hard they kicked. Mrs. Hart, who ran the stable, had begun to wonder sadly whether it was time to find old Pickle a quiet field to retire in. The trouble was that the tall, spirited horses, for all their beauty, were a great deal of horse for a small child. They tossed their heads, they shied at birds, and they danced sideways whenever they were startled. Confident children loved them, but a nervous child, a first-time rider, could take one look at those huge, restless animals and decide then and there that riding was simply not for them. Then, one Saturday, a girl named Mabel came to the stable for her very first lesson. She was small and shy and absolutely terrified. When she saw the great tall horses stamping in their stalls, her face went white and she began to cry. She would not go near them. She clung to the fence and shook her head and said in a tiny voice that she had changed her mind and wanted to go home. Mrs. Hart looked at the frightened little girl, and then she looked at old Pickle, dozing quietly in the sun. "Come and meet someone," she said gently. She led Mabel to Pickle, who did not stamp or toss his head or shy. He simply turned his soft gray nose toward her and breathed a warm, patient breath against her hand. Slowly, carefully, Mrs. Hart lifted the shaking girl into the saddle, and Pickle, patient as the hills, stood as still as a rock while Mabel found her balance and her courage. That was the beginning. All summer, Mabel rode Pickle, and only Pickle. He plodded around the field at his slow, gentle pace, never once frightening her. Bit by bit, she learned to sit tall, to hold the reins, and to trust the animal beneath her. She bonded with that scruffy old pony as she had never bonded with anything in her life. She brushed his shaggy mane for hours and whispered her secrets into it and pressed her face against his warm neck. With Pickle, for the very first time, Mabel was not afraid. And then Mrs. Hart noticed something wonderful. It was not just Mabel. Every frightened, shaking, tearful child who came to the stable could be lifted onto Pickle's broad, steady back, and within minutes, that slow, calm old pony would soothe away their fear. He seemed to know. He would stand patiently while they cried and walk so gently that they forgot to be afraid. The very slowness that had made everyone think he was useless was, it turned out, his greatest gift of all. Word spread. Soon parents were bringing their most anxious children from miles around, just for a turn on the gentle gray pony who could soothe any fear. The stable started special lessons for frightened riders. They began lessons, too, for children who could not walk, lifted safely onto Pickle's calm, patient back when no other horse would do. The useless old pony nobody had wanted became the most precious animal at Hollow Lane, the one the whole stable was built around. Every single child who ever rode him bonded with him and remembered him for the rest of their life. As for Mabel, the terrified little girl who had once wanted to run home, she grew up at that stable, and in time she could ride the tallest, most spirited horse in the yard without a flicker of fear. But she never loved any of them the way she loved old Pickle. On the day he finally retired to his quiet, sunny field, it was Mabel, grown tall now, who led him there by his mane. She hung up his worn old saddle with her own hands, and she told him through her tears that he had been the most precious friend she had ever had. Pickle taught a whole village of frightened children to be brave, simply by being slow and calm and kind. And the lesson he left behind was one that none of them ever forgot, that the thing the world calls useless, the small and the slow and the overlooked, can turn out to be the most treasured thing of all, if only you know where it truly belongs. Now, and did you catch all 8? Let's find out. A noun for the leather seat a rider sits on, strapped to a horse's back. It's the padded seat you climb into to ride a horse or a bicycle. Mrs. Hart lifted the frightened girl gently up into Pickle's one of these. Mrs. Hart lifted the shaking girl up into the what? The rider's seat? On Pickle's back?
The word is saddle.
She tightened the strap and climbed up into the saddle. A noun for the long hair that grows along the top of a horse's neck. It's the flowing hair down a horse's neck, or the thick hair around a lion's head. Mabel would brush Pickle's shaggy one of these for hours. She brushed his shaggy, gray what? The long hair on his neck, and whispered her secrets into it.
The word is mane.
The wind blew through the wild horse's long, tangled mane. A verb meaning to walk slowly and heavily, with steady, tired steps. It's the slow, dragging walk of someone or something in no hurry at all. However hard a child kicked, Pickle would only do this around the field. He would only do what? Walk slowly and heavily. Around the edge of the field, never any faster.
The word is plod.
The tired hikers plodded the last mile back to the campsite. A verb meaning to form a close, warm connection with someone or something. It's the warm tie that grows between a child and a much-loved pet. Mabel did this with the scruffy old pony like nothing before in her life. She did what? Formed a close, warm connection with that gentle old pony as she never had before?
The word is bond.
The new parents quickly bonded with their tiny baby girl. An adjective for being calm and able to wait without getting upset or annoyed. It describes the calm teacher who waits without ever rushing a slow learner. Pickle was exactly this, standing like a rock while a child found their balance. Pickle, what? As the hills, calm and never rushed, stood like a rock while Mabel found her balance.
The word is patient.
You must be patient with a child who is learning to read. An adjective for being deeply valued and loved, treasured and important. It describes a thing so dear to you that you would never part with it. The useless old pony became the most this animal in the whole stable. The pony nobody had wanted became the most what? Deeply valued and loved animal at the stable?
The word is precious.
The old photograph was the most precious thing she owned. An adjective for being lively, energetic, and full of bold, restless energy. It describes a bold, frisky animal, or a person full of fire and energy. The tall horses were this, tossing their heads and dancing sideways. The tall, what kind of horses, lively and full of restless energy, tossed their heads and shied at every bird.
The word is spirited.
The spirited young horse galloped wildly around the open field. A verb meaning to gently calm someone, easing away their fear or pain. It's what a soft voice and a warm hug do to a sobbing, upset baby. Pickle could do this to the fear of any frightened, crying child. That slow, calm old pony would do what? Gently calm away the fear of any nervous child.
The word is soothe.
She sang softly to soothe the crying baby back to sleep. Quick recap. How many do you still remember?
Saddle. Mane. Plod. Bond. Patient. Precious. Spirited. Soothe.
A new English story every day. Subscribe and learn useful words the way your brain actually keeps them. Inside a story you won't forget.